podcast powered by the Robert Irvine Foundation, whose mission is to support and strengthen the physical and mental well-being of our nation's heroes and their families. They provide them with life-changing opportunities, resources, and support through food, wellness, community, and financial support programs. I'm one of your hosts, David Reid.
And I'm your other host, Christian Meyers. If you guys are new to the Medevac podcast, keep in mind there's a price for the show. You have to share it with a friend or family member if you get something out of today's episode. So keep that in mind, and share it.
Excellent.
On the social stuff.
We have no guest today.
No guest today. This is part 2, a little continuation of mine and Dave's last episode. So if you guys tuned in last time, you'll know that we spoke a little bit about what's been going on with the Medevac podcast, our new sponsors, continuing with Black Rifle Coffee. They've been an excellent support network, bringing on the Robert Irvine Foundation. And we also dove into mine and Dave's experience with VETS, the nonprofit Veterans Exploring Treatment Solutions. So if you haven't heard that episode, dive on back to that because it's got some great information on mine and Dave's experience with going down to Mexico and partaking in ibogaine therapy as well as the 5-MeO DMT. Last time we did just kind of teeter off, though. We wanted to touch on reintegration and what that means because when you partake in therapies like ibogaine and 5-MeO and any sort of psychedelic therapy, it's a massive, massive change. And there's a big undertaking on the back end that a lot of people don't really talk about. And I've listened to every single podcast. I know you have too on all the veterans' different experiences with ibogaine and 5-MeO. But a lot of times they miss talking about the 3 to 4 months afterwards, the reintegration period, because it's a really big part of the experience, and it's a really big part of setting yourself up for success with it. And Dave and I have great examples of what not to do as well as what to do.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. And just to hammer that on the head even more is you do not expect the changes you're going to go through.
Yeah, absolutely.
I, for one, knew there was going to be an ample amount of changes and shit to shuffle through in the past.
Yeah.
But I was not expecting that level.
Yeah, so
and that intensity of it.
When it's explained, and if you do decide to get in contact with vets or any of the other various nonprofits who partake in psychedelic therapies like this, they will talk to you about it ad nauseum, which is excellent. But it's important to note that it's not just a one-time therapy. You don't show up for a day and you partake and then your life's changed the following day. There is aspects of it that are like that, but there's 3 to 4 months of hard work that you have to put in afterwards.
Yeah.
And I think that's missed a lot. So we want to talk about that today. And
and it's just really important that if you're considering one of these therapies to do the work that is instructed,
yes,
journaling,
yes,
meditation, just reflecting.
Yeah. Introspection,
gratitude.
Yes.
Just sitting down in the morning and thinking about what you're grateful for. It changes your entire mindset.
Yeah.
Changes your entire mindset.
It does. And as of this week, we are 4 months post-treatment.
Yes.
So it's been 4 months for myself and Dave. So we're kind of riding back down to level. But to be completely honest, in the past couple of weeks, I've noticed a lot of positive changes for myself. The last 3 to 4 months have been difficult, but self-imposed at the same time.
Absolutely.
Overworking ourselves and
and that's exactly it. Is like what to do, what not to do.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I always tell anyone who's looking to explore these treatments is to change your setting before you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
You definitely want to do the work at home, do the integration, get used to meditation. The more mind prep you do, you're going to set yourself up for more success.
It's absolutely true. And that's not just relative to psychedelics either. For instance, I did the stellate ganglion block back in 2019. And my living situation at the time, I had a girlfriend where things were falling apart. We were living together at the time. Things were not healthy there. I was not in a good mental headspace. I was way overworked. I was working, 3 full-time jobs pretty much between being active duty in the military. I was running a nonprofit, and I was a skydiving instructor on the weekends. So I was literally working myself to death. I had a poor home environment, and I knew I needed a change. And the stellate ganglion block was starting to come to light, and it was becoming a more popular therapy. So I went and I did it, and I came back, and I felt great for those first 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And my setting at home, it was shit. It was shit. So immediately I fell right back down.
You just get sucked right back.
Yeah, I spiraled immediately. So I had 2 good weeks with, I had I don't want to say a numbed response, but like my fight or flight instinct was dampened a little bit, and I felt the positive benefits. And then maybe 2.5 weeks later, I was right back to it. Drinking too much and not taking care of myself. It's really important to ensure that your home life is set up as best as possible. Your setting at home, where you find solace and peace, and you're not overworking yourself. You're making the proper decision. You're taking the proper steps for yourself and the right decisions. It's important, and it's arguably the most important part of attending any of these therapies is the follow on and putting the work in.
Follow on and follow up.
Yeah, or reintegration, as we call it.
Reintegration, and that's it. And 2 is understanding that it's not just internal to you. Mm-hmm. You're affected by the external environment.
Absolutely.
So drastically, right? We mentioned this on the last episode, stepping into the airport, right after this treatment.
Yeah.
You're in this magical experience for 5 days with these like-minded individuals, diving deep into your feelings and exposing these emotions that you've buried for years.
Yeah.
And then, you feel so at peace by the time that you pack up and head out.
Yeah.
That it's like, coming out of a building in New York City. It just wafts in your face.
Yeah. It's like a punch in the face.
It was staggering.
Yeah, it was. And everyone warned us too. So again, I will reiterate, and I'm sorry, JT, I should have listened to you. We got ample warning that if you do decide to partake in one of these, take a couple extra days. Go sit on the beach. Go just traipse around in the water. Be quiet for a few extra days, because the moment you step in the airport, you can feel all the negative energy and the anxiety and the anger, and it's discombobulating, and it's disorienting
at the very least.
Yeah. So take a few extra days if you decide to go partake.
I think that's a really good point to talk about. If we, knowing what we know now, how would we go back and talk to ourselves on this whole process? And that's what we're here sharing these stories about, so that when you do consider this, anyone considers this program, you really take into effect all of the positive benefits you could get from it, and understand that you're going into the negative as well. It's not just about facing your post-traumatic stress or overcoming, traumatic brain injuries, anxiety, depression, addiction.
Yeah.
All of these are great benefits to the program. But you're also reliving your childhood traumas. Yeah. You're reliving those very, very traumatic situations. And your PTS happens to be such a small blip on your life.
Yeah.
And most of the time, we understand that our trauma is so dramatic because of the childhood traumas that we faced and that we didn't face. We kind of buried.
Did not work.
So the way we react to that trauma and adversity that we see nowadays, it's from the past.
Yeah.
How weird is that?
That was a very surprising part. And there was, I forget the actual number, but it was something relative to 85 or 90% of people in special operations all have shared childhood trauma.
We went around the horn, remember?
Yeah.
And it was just my family beat me.
Yeah. Family beat me too. And I was sexually assaulted as a child. Oh man, this.
And guys, this is not a joke.
It's not.
This is a commonality that is shared between a lot of our special operations warfighters, is that just very, very difficult childhood experience that motivated them to find that outlet of refocusing that energy into doing something that is selfless as opposed to selfish.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you hear the same things. Oh, they had a difficult childhood and now they're going to shoot up a mall and all this stuff. And that is going the criminal route, but also understand that people do the opposite.
Yeah.
You know, is I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like, whoever raised me and was abusive and all this stuff. I want to be the opposite of that. And they end up going a different route. So that's a really good point as well.
And the heartbreaking side of that is we know these people. Like we've been these people. We've been around these people for years, right? The guys and girls who chose to enter special operations as a result of childhood trauma to do something better, but then are broken by the things that they experience during that service. It's heartbreaking. They're trying to do something good and positive and beneficial for society and for others as a result of the trauma that they incurred, only to find themselves right back in the same position as a result of entering special operations or entering the military or anything in that aspect. So these are guys who are completely selfless, only to be broken down again and to have no one take care of them yet again. So like organizations like Vets and honestly, the VA has really stepped up the past couple of years. I think I know there's a lot of issues with the VA, but I do see a lot of things moving forward in the right direction with the services that they're starting to offer. Mental health services are now free for life. If you've ever been in the military, if you guys aren't aware of this, the VA now offers mental health services for life, no matter your discharge. I think it's even if you have a dishonorable discharge.
I mean, it's...
Don't quote me on that. I need to verify that, but it's for life now.
But you're right. The therapies that are coming out now are just far more specialized, far more considerate of the individual now. Acupuncture.
Yeah.
Eastern medicine.
Yeah, all sorts of different options now.
Hormone replacement therapy.
Yeah, HRT.
All of these are new programs that the VA is starting to integrate a little bit more. Chiropractic work.
Yep.
I know that's a big one too, is, how do we get off of prescription medications? And the VA is finally starting to wake up on this.
Yeah.
We can't hand out these pills like candy anymore. And that's what's really important. I mean, when I started my journey with plant-based medicines, everything else faltered away. Drinking, prescription medications, the Ambien, the Adderall, all of these drugs. Yeah. These are the drugs.
Yeah.
These are the bad stuff for you. And you don't even realize while you're going through it with this. When you're on a prescription medication and you're taking X amount of days.
Yeah.
You don't understand that you're changing your biochemistry
considerably.
Yeah. And you're becoming reliant on this. And then when you don't take that, you don't have access to that prescription or that drug anymore, you become a different person.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was studying for medical school, I had a prescription to Adderall and I didn't know how much I had changed until I interacted with individuals who were just you're sharp, you're sharper and not a mental capacity, but just more abrasive
all around.
Yeah. And I was just blank, it was emotionless and it was interesting that it was more all logical based.
Yeah.
And there was no consideration of a other person's feelings.
Yeah.
And that's horrendous.
Yeah, that's
to
huge
become
negative.
numb.
Yeah. It's a huge negative change. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who find themselves in that boat too, and I think there still is a lot of resistance to plant-based medicines.
There is so much
based off of the last 50 plus years of the war on drugs, which it disallowed us to continue studying the positive benefits of the use of psychedelics and even things like MDMA, which considered a party drug. It still is considered a party drug in many circles if you're overusing it or using it in the wrong scenarios. But the VA is starting to look into that. The DoD is doing active studies with MDMA for the treatment of PTSD.
Post-traumatic,
If we had not made these illegal for the use of at least studying them and the positive benefits for the last 50 years, where would we have been today? Honestly.
And this is a definitely could go down the political rabbit hole of big pharma for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But but the fact of the matter is, and excuse me if I get a little hippy dippy on this, but like, this is what the earth has provided us. You know, this is the medication we need to heal ourselves. And we have lost access to this.
Yeah.
We have been taken away the access to this.
Yeah. And if you look at it through the same lens of, it is healthier to eat raw vegetables and meats and, you know, animal products than it is to consume highly processed foods, like highly processed, you know, corn syrups and all your processed foods. The same thing applies to your medicines. Like there is a time and a place for highly processed synthesized medicines, but there's also a lot of natural stuff that's available to us that's highly beneficial. And there's results that they're showcasing that left and right now. So if you take that same approach, like, what's holistically better for me as a human being? Like, should I continue consuming antidepressants every single day where I'm changing my biochemistry?
And then judge others for trying psychedelic medications.
Yeah, that happens a lot too.
You know, while you're eating pizza and drinking liters of Coke a day. Like, there is a misconception out there, and we're here to bridge that gap. We're here to educate the public. You know, and I will keep saying this every episode because I believe in it full-heartedly, and I know you do as well. How many articles have we started to see now where people are able to overcome their paralysis?
Yeah.
Be able to taste again after radioactive therapies? For cancerous therapies, right?
Yeah. Those are
we've
crazy.
seen this firsthand.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's only the physical aspect of things. The mental stuff. I've seen people go from wanting to kill themselves to being the best father I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You know, being the best spouse, being an integrated member of their family again.
Yeah.
And like, all it takes is one.
Yeah.
All it takes is one life to save, and that means so much to me.
Yeah, it does. I could not agree more. Yeah. It's worth it to take the chance. The risk is low.
We have a guy going, I won't mention a name, but he's paralyzed from the sternum down.
Yeah.
Right? And he's going to this new this program as well in the next few weeks, because he's been sending me articles nonstop about how like like people are getting up and walking again, and he's getting excited about it, and he's going to physical therapy again, and he's doing the action items required that we talked about prior to this, changing your scene and setting.
Yeah. Set and setting, right?
Scene, set, setting.
It is.
They're S words.
Whatever it is. No,
don't embarrass me in public.
You're wrong. I correct you. You are wrong. No, it's. I think it's wonderful to see people being, you know, reignited to start taking care of themselves. We've spent a long time. The past couple of years have been really rough on everyone, and I think people are starting to get really fed up with being stuck in that same repetitive cycle, in that same repetitive loop, self-isolating, drinking too much, you know, using things that are, avoidant to facing your feelings. You know, you're trying to numb those feelings or avoid them or not face them or go through your problems. I think people are starting to get fed up with it, and now's the time. Like, real life's back open again. Like the country's not shut down anymore. Like it's time to get out of that cycle. It's time to get out of that loop. It's time to start taking responsibility for ourselves, and, you know, making sure that we're taking care of our physical health as much as we are our mental health. Yeah. And, you know, if you're curious about it, reach out. I love to talk about this stuff. I'm a huge proponent of it. I know Dave is too. I think it's nothing but beneficial. It's got nothing but positive results that I've seen. But it's worth it to take the risk, in my opinion, to take the chance. Like, give it a shot. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, I mean, and at this point, we've heard of nothing but positive benefits. So, definitely, as Christian mentioned, if you guys are interested, please reach out to us. We're happy to put you in contact with a link to apply for this program.
Yes.
If you are a qualified veteran, they will reach out to you and let you know.
Yeah.
Happy to put the link in the description as well.
Yes, absolutely. But make sure you keep in mind that if you do decide to go down this this path, it's going to take a big chunk out of your life for a few months. And make sure you're set, you know, like we were saying, make sure that your home life is taken care of. But make sure that you really take into consideration, and if 3 months sounds like a long time, to kind of be thrown off your game or to be going through and continue to be doing that work, just consider the rest of your life. Like, do you want to continue feeling like this forever? Or do you want to take the time right now and buckle down and do the work? It's like taking a college course. Like, you know what you're signing up for. It's a semester. Okay. Well, I know that for this semester, like, I'm going to be doing my full-time job, but I also have to come home and do homework at night. That's exactly what this is. You're signing up for a college course. It's not all that much extra work, but it is going to add on to your life. It's going to add some curveballs. And you're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to put in the time. You're going to have to journal. You're going to have to do the meditation and the self-reflection. If you go down there and expect this to be a magic fix-it pill, that you're going in with the wrong mindset. That's not what it is. It is a leg up. Much like antidepressants were supposed to be used for. It's supposed to get you out of that dip so you can start doing the work for yourself. This does it at a magnitude that is far, far beyond that. And it can absolutely ignite that passion and that desire to put in the work. But just keep in mind, like, it's going to make a lot of changes. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, I've got work and I've got family and I've got all these other responsibilities, think about how much better those responsibilities are going to be if you're able to actually tackle them without the additional stress, without having anxiety attacks, without having to deal with the post-traumatic stress issues and all the associating issues along, there within. It's going to allow you to take those on a lot easier and in a more holistic manner, I think, ultimately. So just keep in mind, and I always say the oxygen mask theory, right? You have to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. If your family is your worry, how much are you helping them right now if you're in a broken state? How good are you at your job right now if you're in a broken state? Like, put your own oxygen mask on first, then help others.
Yes.
Like, you have to. It's okay to be that selfish like that sometimes.
Yeah, and you drive a very interesting point, and this goes into that conversation about burnout. When you go at max capacity, if you're 100% all the time, you can't give 100% the next day. You give a piece of yourself, right? So that's where pacing comes in. And humans are really bad at that. Humans are really bad at it. And as a matter of fact, it is a very human trait to be able to pace, right? We look at exercise, we look at aerobic oxidation and the ability to reserve our energies and not deplete it, not go 100%. And that's the same thing that we got to think about for our mental health, is that we need to be able to slow it down so that we could give our best every time.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And on that smooth transition, did you have anything else on the
I did have one other thing. I noticed that you said leg up. And I thought that might have been a sick joke that you said towards me because I have one leg.
It would be leg off. Who's your favorite Lord of the Rings character?
Oh, Aragorn.
Legless.
I had to go with a nerdy answer.
Damn it.
Legolas.
Pretty
good, actually. How long have you been sitting on that one?
Too long.
Oh, that's
too
great.
long. That was off the cuff. Smooth transition, because speaking of reintegration and rebuilding physiology, I'm going on a trip here shortly with an awesome group of people.
Yes.
The Human Performance Project.
And you gotta, let's talk about that segue, because this was from our buddy Ryan that we went through the program with.
Yes. Yeah.
He's a Navy SEAL.
Hoo-ha.
You could probably pick up his book.
He does have a book. He does have a book and a patent. And
he's a great guy.
Yes,
and we went through this program together. Just a little prefaces that he was very struggling as well with this connecting with his family on a deeper level, and felt just disconnected, like most of us do, in reintegrating into society. And he went through this program, and it was great to see in 5 days, 5 people completely change their demeanor and go from the roughest, toughest, tumbling dudes to singing and chatting about their feelings around a campfire.
Kumbaya
with their rattles, just
little maraca.
And I think that's really interesting to note, and reinforce at the same time is that tough but tender nature is really, really important.
It is.
You could have an excellent resume where you kicked bad guys in the face your whole career for many years, and it's okay to still cry. It's still okay to have hugs and share your feelings.
Yeah.
So he was able to do that, and he is so connected with his family now. I'm so happy with him and his kids.
And his journey. Yeah.
And then, within that, I think it opened up a whole new world for him as well, and let him really embark on a journey that he's always been passionate about, always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I think that, like you said, 4 months later, we've come out of it, and now you're involved in this trip called
the Human Performance Project.
Yeah.
The 7X project. Yeah. So, so like Dave said, we met Ryan, down in Mexico. We partook in treatment together. He was a Team 7 SEAL who, a couple of years ago, his sniper partner took his life. And this was the guy who raised him in the teams, his best friend for over a decade, his literal partner, sniper partner, and the guy he looked up to ended up taking his life without reaching out to anyone, seeking help. It just happened, and that prompted Ryan to want to start searching. There are all these studies going on with the mental health side, and studies with TBI and everything else, but nobody's studied rebuilding the physiology, because a lot of guys on the military and the special operations side, they are exposed to very traumatic things. They're exposed to explosions and dead people and all sorts of things. But at the same time, we have first responders who are exposed to much less gruesome things typically, but they're taking their lives at the same rate as military members, even if they're not exposed to terribly traumatic things or TBIs or explosions or whatever it is. They're still taking their lives at the same rate. And so that prompted a study within the group that we all now work with to study human physiology as it relates to mental health and suicide, because there is a link, there is a correlation, and that's what this whole project is trying to understand. We're trying to put those puzzle pieces together to understand what within our physiology is causing these people to commit suicide, even if they're not showing signs of mental health disorders or depression or anxiety, or even if they're not experiencing it at all. They're still choosing to take their lives. So there's a physiology or physiological aspect to it. And that's what we're studying here. So the 7X project, much like the previous 7 Continents project, a lot of people followed along with. It's very similar, but ours is more focused on the study of rebuilding human physiology. So the project is we're traveling to all 7 continents over 7 days. There's a team of athletes who's going to do a marathon, a swim, and a skydive or base jump on each continent each day. So it's 168 miles, I think, total, 168 miles total over 7 days. I mean, it's a treacherous feat, but we're choosing to completely destroy our physiology here. And then over the next 12 months, it's going to be studied and followed very, very closely. There's sometimes daily events, there's weekly events where they're doing brain scans and blood work, and it's going to be studied and monitored very closely so that we understand how to properly rebuild physiology after you're completely broken. And we're developing a manual out of this. So that manual is then going to be given to the DoD. It's going to be given to first responders, and all of the proceeds that come here within are being donated to many military and veteran charities, both U.S. and NATO. I think it's a fantastic culmination event here. Mm-hmm. So how we can truly understand what it takes to rebuild that physiology, and maybe we can start applying these tactics and these methodologies to our military, to our first responders, and hopefully we can start to address the suicide rate and do something to really combat it.
And it needs to be done. I think our numbers are starting to go back up.
Yeah, the State of the Union was last night, and they said 17 was the last VA, or as of yesterday.
Yeah,
17 a day.
Yeah, so 17 a day has been going on. we're very used to the number 22 a day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that did decrease a few years ago. But there is something going around in this season right now where people are really struggling.
Yeah.
And I lost a friend a couple weeks ago to suicide as well when we thought he was doing really well. I know that we've had a lot more reaches lately. So these kind of trips are important because they really showcase through, a wonderful journey. 7 continents, it's bound to get attention as well.
Yes. Yeah.
And raise that awareness that it needs. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's the goal is, it's not about really setting a world record or getting attention or whatever it is. It's about breaking ourselves for the greater good so we can figure out how to rebuild ourselves properly. And if we have that understanding, maybe we can apply some of those tactics and start to help, post deployment or once a year for firefighters or police officers or anybody who's really putting themselves in physical harm or in that setting, getting a chance to understand how to rebuild that properly and appropriately. So super excited about this trip. I'm acting as a medical coordinator. I'm kind of corralling. We have some VIPs attending who are help. These guys basically paid for the trip. So we have some guys who shelled out a whole lot of money on the personal side to attend the trip with us. So super thankful to the VIPs there and the people who helped make this trip happen up front. So I'll be acting as a medical coordinator, and then I'm jumping as well, obviously. Professional skydiver for years, so I'll be taking some pictures and videos of these guys.
What continents are you looking forward to the most?
Antarctica is number one. I know like a handful of people who have ever been to Antarctica.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about altitude and temperature.
Yeah, so we are traveling from Antarctica, and then the second stop is going to be Australia. So obviously, we're south of the equator there. So it's summertime in Antarctica and Australia right now, where it's our winter time here in the States. So in Antarctica, it's still cold as shit. Even though it's summertime, ambient temperatures on the ground are about 15 degrees. But at altitude with the skydives, we're expecting negative about 85 degrees. And then with wind chill and free fall, we're expecting down to negative 200 degrees. Immediately going to Perth, Australia, where the ambient temperature is about 85 degrees on the ground. So
big difference.
So yeah, almost a 300 degree magnitude change in 24 hours.
But you're going through it so fast that you're just blinking through it.
Sure, but the guy's running a marathon on each continent. So
I'll take skydiving over a marathon any day.
You and me both, brother. Like they're going for it. I commend them, but marathon every single day.
Is Ryan running a marathon? He is.
Oh yeah. That dude's
Ryan
crazy.
Is a runner. This guy loves to run.
Oh, the group of people that we have on the team. It's really hard hitting special operators. There's a former CAG guy. It's a bunch of SEALs, Green Berets, like really hard hitting guys who are putting themselves through the ringer for this.
I'm sure.
It's because we all believe in it. We've all had friends who have taken their lives, and we understand that there is more to study, and we're willing to put ourselves in the line. These guys are rather, willing to risk themselves and push themselves to the very brink.
Yeah, I think that's a really important piece to note is challenging your mind, challenging your body is something that we shelf.
Yeah.
For our younger years, especially like post 30s, you see a lot of people like who were very physical and, physically job oriented, right? Yeah. Military was go, 20-mile rucks, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the lines, we get kind of fat and sassy and we stop challenging ourselves.
Lean into comfort.
Yeah. And we get into that routine. So, we're not able to become better versions of ourselves unless we shed that old version, right? I know for a fact that I've been through some very, very challenging situations. You have as well. And going through day-to-day challenges, I could get through those a lot more streamlined.
Yeah.
Because I could fall back onto memories of like, well, at least I'm not getting shot at.
Yeah. At least,
At
least no one's trying to kill me right now.
No one's trying to kill
Yeah.
me. I have a warm house. I have a roof over my head.
Yep.
And then, within that, your gratitude starts building too. So your mentality becomes better because of it.
Yeah.
So going through something hard and difficult puts you in a better mindset.
Absolutely.
How crazy is that?
Yeah. Facing your adversity.
You're creating
Yeah.
adversity though.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, is creating adversity for yourself. Go do the 5K, do the 10K, do the marathon.
Yes.
While you do it, this is bad for my knees. It hurts my back. But that is the challenge. And yes, it's very physically demanding.
Yes.
But the mental aspect that you get out of that is really important.
And the delineation here between creating adversity and manufacturing adversity are very, very different. And I really like to drive this point home, because a lot of people, especially now, getting softer and softer, and they're starting to call everything trauma or every little bit. And that is manufacturing adversity. You're creating it for you're manufacturing it. You're not creating it.
True story.
Creating and seeking adversity is completely different, where you want to partake. Yeah, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to get my lifts up. I'm going to do this 5K or 10K. I'm going to do something that's difficult, versus I had something, not go my way, and I'm going to, revel in that. I'm going to let that defeat me. That's manufacturing adversity.
Yeah, and truly, just another word to reinforce that is inventing.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're inventing that for yourself.
Yeah.
And that is so the difference, how do we identify the difference of that?
Yeah.
In that one leads to a positive outcome, the other leads to a negative.
Yes.
Right? If one is more of a victim mentality, the other is forward thinking.
Yeah, overcoming.
Right?
Yeah.
Overcoming, right? And when you're inventing something, when you're manufacturing that adversity, you are really setting yourself up for failure because you close into yourself.
Yes.
And that's the problem, right? If we're inventing problems for ourselves, we're going to complain, we're going to bitch, we're going to moan.
Yep.
We're going to speak more with our lower self, right? In the opposite of doing something to challenge yourself physically and or mentally for a positive outcome is how you create.
Yes.
You
can be the victim or the victor here.
Yeah,
right?
that's exactly it. That's a good way of putting it.
And we're both guilty of that. I know I am for sure. And that's something that honestly, taking it back to psychedelics, my Ibogaine journey was fucking hard. I had a terrible experience during my Ibogaine journey, but that's what it was for.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what it was for, was to put things in perspective for me. Like, oh, you want a bad day? Here's a bad day. And now you can compare this to other things. Yeah. And that's what it provided me. Was it hard to get through? Absolutely. But it showed me what a 0 out of 10 on the scale was. That it provided me a 0 out of 10. Like, this is a really shitty time that you can put up against. Now you can compare and contrast to the rest of your days.
That's it.
Is it like this experience? No. Okay. Well, you can survive this. You can get through this. You can face this adversity and make it through.
Yeah, and a really good point too that I want to hit on is that it's not comparing. You're not comparing this situation to the adversity that someone else has faced. Yes. And that's a really big point, because I know there's a certain percentage of audience members out there that's like, oh, I've never been through that situation.
Yeah, I wasn't blown up.
Okay. Don't compare yourself to my situation. Yeah. Compare yourself to your adversities that you faced in your life, whatever that may be. And that's your anchor. That's your mark.
Yes.
Right? If it was childbirth, which is extremely difficult, something that I could never ever speak on, but might be a traumatic and yet beautiful experience for you. That's when you're sitting in that office and you're like, well, man, I'm at a 9 to 5, and it's just I'm really in my head right now, and I'm just not feeling it. And then you could remember, well, at least I'm not going through that pain right now.
Yeah.
And the difference is you're not discrediting yourself because you faced that.
Yes.
You discredit yourself when you compare yourself to others.
Absolutely.
So never look at other people's stories as something where you're like, and this happens to me when I'm speaking
all the time.
all the time. People come up to me after I'm done and they'll say, "Hey, I've never done this. I've never done what you did. I call it my just theory because I hear it so often.
I was just in a car accident.
I just did 1 deployment. I just did 2 deployments. I never did what you did. I've never been blown up. I've never experienced." And I'm like, okay, let's pump the brakes.
Yeah.
Stop looking at my story because you're devaluing yourself and your story and the adversities that you face. Those obstacles and challenges are unique to you.
Yeah.
And you really have to just peel back the layers of what's going on in your world to really dissect the issues here. And when you're looking at me, when you're looking at him, you're looking at her, she's done sexual trauma. I could never imagine that, blah, blah, blah. He's got 1 leg missing. I got 2 legs. Yeah. You just go down this rabbit hole. And I remember being in the hospital when people would come up to me and be like, "At least you have both legs," as they're sitting there with both their legs.
Yeah.
Trying to relate to me and tell me that it's all going to be fine.
Yeah.
And that's another identifying piece of me comparing myself is like, why should I listen to them?
Yeah.
Don't listen to them.
You don't have to.
They have no idea.
Yeah.
So I need to stop giving my energy to them because they have no idea. And I need to understand that I'm dealing with the situation of having 1 leg myself.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to deal with that.
Yes.
I'm going to have to figure that out. I'm not worried about not having 2 legs.
Yeah. But and if you go down that path, it's never ending because you have 1 leg, but we've had guys in here who are missing both legs. But guess what? We also had people on who are missing 3 limbs and completely paralyzed and 4 limbs and no eyes and they're blind or
burns all over their entire bodies.
Yeah, 95%.
It always could be worse, people. It could always
someone
be
worse off.
Worse.
Yeah.
And when you say it could be worse to somebody, it's probably the worst thing that you could say to them.
Yeah.
It could be worse.
You're discrediting everything that they've gone
Absolutely.
through. Yeah.
Your problems don't matter because it could be worse.
Yeah. I know you lost 1 leg, but you could be a ginger, Dave. I mean, it could be worse.
You're right. You're right. So I think that's a really important to note is that when we're facing our adversities, we need to create some challenges for ourselves. We need to create that adversity so that we could shed our skin and become better versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
Stop comparing ourselves to others and stop with the intrusive thoughts. Stop discrediting ourselves. Stop devaluing ourselves and our stories and learn from them. And think of it as a positive correlation, a positive experience. At least for me, I have been working dramatically on this, and I know we've talked about it numerous times, is really appreciating your adversity, even the shitty ones, even me getting blown up.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I look at it as perspective is this might have been one of the best things that has ever happened to me. I know for a fact it is because I'm the man I am today because I did face that challenge.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That bomb that detonated doesn't define me, but the work I did to overcome that does.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's, if you choose to do the woe is me route or the self-pity route or whatever it is, or the compare and contrast route, like we've been talking about, if you choose to go down that, it only ends one way, or it doesn't end, rather. It just continues. It continues to be negative. If you choose to go down the woe is me route or the compare and contrast route, it's not that it only ends in one way, it's that it never ends. That's a never ending battle. It's a never ending cycle. You have to choose to work on those issues that you want to define you, right? You have to put in the work. You have to make the decisions. But if you just compare and contrast, this guy's way worse off than me. Maybe I should just shut up about it. Well, no, that's not the right answer. You need to work on the issues that are, defining you, or the issues that you're having right now. That's the most important thing for yourself, is to put in the work now and stop comparing it to other people. It could always be worse. I could have been blown up, but what does that do for me? That doesn't solve any of my issues. That doesn't help me progress and grow as a person. It doesn't help me be grateful for anything either. Mm-hmm. It only puts the sour taste in your mouth when you're speaking to people who are, you might perceive as being better off than you. That's all it does, is it creates a vicious circle for that and a sour taste at the end of the day.
Yeah. And this just reminds me of the saying is just happiness is a choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Happiness is really a choice. It's perspective.
Yeah.
And being able to zoom out a little bit and understand where you're sitting at is very important.
Yeah, it is.
Very important.
It is important. Yeah. Reintegration goes hand in hand with that kind of stuff. And choosing to take the journey and that's
saying yes to opportunities. Yeah. Nothing is going to happen to you ever.
Yeah.
When you say no.
Yeah.
When you sit at home and you are in your head, most of the time, that's when the problems occur. And what I always look at is that when you're depressed, your head is in the past. When you're anxious, your head is in the future.
Yeah, thinking ahead.
You know, when you have that happiness, that true presence, that's in the moment.
Yeah.
You know, really just enjoying what's around you. Like, how many times do we drive to work or drive to the gym or drive to Starbucks and not even remember how we got there because we're so in our heads that, you know, we're just thinking our life away and worrying about these little things that don't matter at the end of the day.
It's true.
They don't matter. Yeah. And you're like, and that's a difficult pill to swallow, is that a majority of our problems in this world don't matter. And when you're sitting there on your deathbed or in the middle of Afghanistan looking up at the stars, thinking this might be your last night on Earth, you do not think about,
taxes.
Man, I never got that memo and my boss is pissed at me.
Yeah. TPS reports.
Yeah. TPS reports is a good example. You're not thinking about, hey, I have work tomorrow. I need to call in and let them know I'm not going to be there.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I wish I had said that to my mom or said that to my brother or dad or whatever, sister, family member. I wish I had more time with my kids.
Yeah.
You know, and it always comes back to wanting more present moments. Right? Not the anxieties, not the little things. It's about the true meaning of life, and that's really enjoying yourself. And we live in this society where you work 9 to 5, you get home, you're exhausted, you put on TV, so you turn your brain off even more, and then you go to bed, rinse and repeat.
Yep. And that's your cycle.
And that's over and over. No wonder why we're in a society that is so depressed and anxious right now.
Yeah.
It's because we have no outlets anymore. So get out there, do the 5K, find a knitting group. Who knows? Like, find a book club, do something that challenges your mind, breaks up the monotony a little bit, and you're going to find that is therapy for you.
Yes.
You don't have to go see a counselor or a psychiatrist, psychologist. You could talk to your friend and you know, go to the botanical gardens every once in a while, see some flowers. And just enjoy that moment. Like, challenge yourself to not think.
And that, when you say happiness is a choice, that's the choice that you're making. You're not choosing to, I'm happy now. That's not what we're saying. It's that right there, making the decision. Okay, I'm going to get out and I'm going to do something different today. I'm going to shake up my life. I'm not just going to sit on social media and doom scroll, or I'm not going to, watch TV for 12 hours today. I'm going to get out and I'm going to go surfing today. I'm going to go ride a bike today. I'm going to go walk the Japanese tea gardens, get out some nature. I'm going to go hiking today.
Interesting.
Play with my dog. That's the choice that you make. Those are the choices. That is, happiness is a choice. Be grateful for the position that you're in, but make the choice to do something for yourself that brings you joy.
Yes.
Like, that's the decision we're talking about that you have to make. Like, obviously put things in perspective, but continue to put things in perspective and allow yourself to grow. That's how it happens. That's it.
And
simple.
That's state dependent mentality all in itself as well. Is how many times when we're sad do we go to the sad playlist on Spotify?
Yeah, I'm not sad enough.
And I'm not sad enough. And then I'm going to put the sad songs on. And I just fuel. I fuel that mentality. And it becomes all too consuming. And then lo and behold, it's all day. And you're like, man, I don't know what upset me so much. Well, maybe it's that state dependent mentality that you keep reinforcing. So you got to break that up. Instead of a negative feedback loop, we got to break this feedback loop completely.
Yes.
Right? And that's a fucking hard thing to do.
It
is. I know that I'm having a bad day. The last thing I want to do is put on the club music,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
change that up. But yes, that's what you got to do. We've heard these from all of these really prestigious and well-known mental health coaches and motivational speakers. Tony Robbins and his Superman stance theory, right?
Yeah.
Is to pose like Superman, looking up with your hands on your hips for 3 minutes or 3 minutes, and understanding that posture, it's a power posture, and it changes your mentality.
Yeah.
We've heard this with smiling too, is if you're in the car driving, just smile. It looks awkward as shit. We've all seen the new movie Smile, which is creepy.
Creepy as
if
shit.
you haven't seen that one,
Watch it. Yeah,
watch
that
it.
one.
But smiling, even when you're in a bad mood, is proven to elevate your mood.
Yeah. That, or what I always say, try to make somebody else laugh. If you're in a shitty mood, try to make someone else laugh.
Yeah,
Seriously, it's really hard to do if you're in a shitty mood, and if you
story.
can do it, it's going to change your mood as well. Like, make somebody else laugh. But yeah, there's tons of opportunity like that. But it's important to, if you don't know how to start, we can give you the simple answers, right? If you don't know how to start, reverse engineer it. What are the things that make you happy? Write those things down. Okay, the things that make me happy are riding mountain bikes, hiking, being in nature, playing with my dog. Okay, there's 4 good examples there. Now, when I'm having a shitty mood, I'll look at that list. Okay, well, maybe I should do one of these things today. How can I incorporate that into my life today? That's it. Like, it takes work.
and it's easy to shelf those things, right?
It is.
It's easy to say, I'm not going to go today. I'm going to go tomorrow. So this brings me up to a good point, which you just mentioned, is a challenge that I've been doing for myself through my integration period, is when it pops up to my mind, take the action, right? So, very easy example. My clothes were in the dryer. They're dried.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave them there. Like, how many times do we leave our clothes in the dryer and then 3 days have passed?
I'll fold them in the morning.
Yeah, I'll fold them and 3 days have passed and they're still in the dryer.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it pops into my mind, okay, do it now.
Yep.
Take the action to do it. And then once you're doing it, all of it falters away. Just like procrastination disappears. And then you feel at the end of the day, you're like, oh, I did like 17 chores today. I folded laundry. I cleaned the kitchen.
Yep.
I even did the blinds today. Whatever pops up into your mind, do it for 2 weeks and see how your life changes.
Yeah.
Procrastination is just something that happens when our mind controls us.
Yes, absolutely.
When it, right?
Yeah.
Is I'll do it later.
Yeah.
I'll do it later. No, if it pops in your brain, do it. Hey, I wanted to go to the botanical gardens. Go today. You got a couple hours? Go.
Yeah, just go.
I don't know why I keep saying botanical gardens.
Do
we need to go?
Do you want to go to the botanical
Okay,
gardens?
let's quit this up. We're going to wrap up early.
We'll walk to the botanical gardens.
I love flowers. They smell delicious. They look pretty.
Yeah. I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, there's not much you
I
can
don't
do
know
with
what
it.
to do with that.
But I think that's the point is taking action.
Yeah.
Learning to challenge yourselves in a society that really, drives home the fact that it's hard to put in challenges.
Yeah.
When you're working a 9-to-5 job in a cubicle where, your fellow, colleagues are draining your energy, the energy vampires out there, and then coming back home and saying, well, fuck it. I'm exhausted. I'm just going to watch TV. And like, that's the wrong thing to do.
That's a choice.
That is a choice.
This is the right choice.
And the whole, I'm going to start Monday. How many times have you heard that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is now first week of February. How many people are out of the gym?
Yeah.
How many people have stopped showing up already?
That's a great one.
A lot of them. Yeah.
That's a great
How many
example.
people have given up on their New Year's resolutions already? We're 4 weeks in. Congratulations. Like 1 out of 12 months. Like, you didn't make it very far.
Yeah. And that
I'll start next year.
That is discipline.
Yeah.
That's discipline.
And that's something that's hard to cultivate in ourselves if we don't.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. If you don't have accountability, if you don't have somebody hopping, there's a really good one about a guy. It was a story on the early internet, like early internet days, where this dude called his buddy a fat fuck. He sent him the text message that said, "Hey, you're a fat fuck," every single day to like motivate. It's not the right thing to do, in my opinion, but depending on your friendship and your relationship. But that's what he did. Like, texted him, "Hey, you're a fat fuck," every morning. And the guy ended up like taking it seriously. He's like, that motivated me to start losing weight and lost like hundreds of pounds, or like, I remember that story floating around, but like having accountability, like that's, I'm not telling you to like talk to your friends like that. I don't talk to my friends like that, but I'll be real with my friends, but accountability is important, and it's hard to be accountable to yourself sometimes. So ask somebody to be accountable for you. Ask a friend like, hey, this is my goal. Can you keep me accountable for the next couple weeks to make sure that I'm starting to build these positive habits? A lot of people will be open to that, and it doesn't take a whole lot of extra work. Like if I have to give you a phone call every day and like, hey, did you do this thing today that you wanted to do? No. Well, why not? And give somebody the leeway to question you and to hold you accountable. Like,
and that's it. Accountability buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Accountability buddy.
And I think that's just an amazing point is that oftentimes the most hurtful things that are said to us resonate so deeply because they're probably true, right?
Possible, yeah.
Or at least you think that they're true, right? If someone comes up to you and says you're a fat fuck and you get offended, it's probably because you have some self-doubt yourself. You have something going on in your world where that is getting to you because you're letting it. Right. And most of the time, we never want to go down that route of like negative reinforcement. And I know that's a great example.
Not trying
I just want to reinforce that in that, that's how people, jump off buildings,
exactly.
is and that's bullying, and that's a negative way of approaching it. Right. But you hear these stories of the ex-boyfriend calling me fat and you don't look good in this, blah, blah, blah. They break up with him, but they completely change their lives around and are healthy. And I'm not saying that you have to fit the measurements of, beautiful Barbie, blonde-haired Barbie.
Yeah, you don't have to have a six-pack. Like, it's fine.
Beauty is in all sorts, but my definition of beauty is loving yourself. So whatever that version of loving yourself is, and I know that we're in this culture now where it's just like, be free and flow however you want. There is also other underlying factors of like, when you're overweight, so is your heart, so like a overall holistic health is really important. And there is such thing as healthy.
Yeah. And there is truth behind that.
Yeah. And truth. Yeah. Like there is, but understanding that sometimes these negative things that people are saying hurt you so deep because maybe you think it's true. So reevaluate that and rechannel it into a way that'll motivate you to becoming a better version of yourself.
Yeah, choose what to do with that. And you get to the same way, like how we started this podcast. A lot of special operators have childhood trauma. A lot of people who have childhood trauma also choose to drink themselves and use illicit drugs and go down the opposite rabbit hole, negative reinforcement based on that experience. Much like this, if you find truth in that and you want to dwell on it, you want to be the woe is me, you can, but you can also use it to motivate yourself, much like special operators choose to do when they have childhood trauma and they're like, I'm going to do something positive with this. Like I'm going to use that as motivation. Okay. Same applies, same rules apply here. Choose the right thing to do with it. Let it motivate you. Prove them wrong. Prove yourself right. And that it comes down to a choice. How do you want to respond to it? There's a infinite number of circumstances you can find yourself in where you get to make that choice. So make that choice. Use it to motivate you.
Man, I love it. And I truly love talking about mental health. And I think it is so important nowadays. We still have a lot of conflicts that are going on overseas. We still have a lot of our military service members spun up. Yeah. But it is not Afghanistan. It's not Iraq anymore. A mass. Well, it's not. Well, a lot of those guys are retired. Yeah. A lot of those warfighters have hung up their hats and hung up their uniforms. And are coming back into a society where they're expected to function properly and survive. Yeah. And are just closing themselves off. And this is what we're seeing now. a few years after the shutdown now is, COVID fucked with everybody's head coming out of that. And then it's back into society. Everybody's acting different too. Yeah. It's like there's a sense of entitlement in the air. There is an awakening as well. I think that more people are conscious to the lies that are happening around them.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's really important to note that we're here to share and spread the stories to educate our audience of the mental adversities, the physical limitations, and everything else that comes with such an extensive sacrifice to this country. It's interesting stuff, and I know you and I could talk forever, but one of the great things is that our new partner at the Robert Irvine Foundation, that's a primary focus of what we do there is to help with the mental health. So if you like what we're doing here and you want to learn more, go visit the robertirvinefoundation.org. And if you really want to make a difference, we do now have a donation page for Medevac that is earmarked for some of the amazing stuff we're going to do to help our audience and heroes and guests and all this stuff. It's going to be great. So if you want to make a difference, go to donate at robertirvinefoundation.org/Medevac.
Or you can also go to medevacpodcast.com, and there's a little donate button right on the top. Click that, and it goes right to it.
Boom.
Same landing page.
We're going to do that one.
Yeah, and if you, it goes right to the same landing page, so it'll redirect. But if you're curious what's going to happen with those funds, you're going to get to see that live. Well, kind of live. You're going to get to see that on the show this year. So we're going to have guests on who we're going to actually use those funds to change their lives on air.
Awarding Mobius iBots.
Yeah, mobility devices.
Our special reconnection episodes are going to be bigger and badder this year, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah.
And service dogs, counseling services, all of these resources we have access to now are going to be just peppered throughout the show. So I'm super excited for this new change, or new partnership.
Same.
Back with Black Rifle Coffee. Woo! With the Robert Irvine Foundation, making a difference for our nation's heroes.
Well, I couldn't have said it any better.
And if you want live updates,
head to our Instagram at Medevac Podcast. You can reach myself and Dave there directly. You can see live updates on the show, and we are going to be doing live Q&A sessions that will turn into episodes. So if you want to be on there and you want to ask us questions live, and we'll answer them right there, we'll have conversations with you guys. We'll invite you on. That's where you're going to find that. So at Medevac Podcast, you guys know how the Instagram works. Go follow.
Yeah.
Go follow along.
And we will be having, just for the audience to know, is every Thursday's release day.
Yes.
So we're maintaining that schedule.
Thursdays.
So Thursdays are Medevac days.
Yeah. Yeah, Thursdays.
Excellent.
Anyways, that has been the show, ladies and gentlemen. Again, reach out to us if you guys have questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions for guests and topics. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know who you want us to talk to. We really appreciate your suggestions. And if you think you're a candidate for the show, also reach out, because we're pretty receptive.
All you got to do is email at info@medevacpodcast.com.
Yeah, that's it. Awesome. All right, friends. Bye.
Thanks all.